Hey, it's Nathan Selove from Oakcroft Films with another edition of Autism Actually Speaking. Today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people don't know exists in autistics. Empathy. A quick reiteration, empathy is a person's ability to emotionally relate to others, not to be confused with sympathy. Although very easily confused with sympathy because honestly I never understood the difference. Now, quick caveat. Obviously, not all autistics are the same. What applies to me might not necessarily apply to others. So this is mainly going to be based on my own experience, my own research, and my own feelings with regard to empathy. Now, a lot of people in the field of psychology might say that autistics don't feel empathy, and this is mainly stemming from two things. The first one is a matter of expression. Oftentimes, an autistic is able to relate emotionally to a person who's talking to them, but they might not necessarily know how to express that. For example, a lot of the time when I'm out with Sylvia, people will come up to me and say, "Oh, you have a really nice dog. My dog died last night." You'd be surprised how many times this happens. Now, I often view these situations from a logical point of view. Now, I can empathize with someone who's lost their dog. I've lost animals before, and it's devastated me, and I absolutely love dogs. Logically, I could say I'm sorry, but I'm sorry has always kind of felt like an empty gesture with regard to these situations. And it's not my fault that their dog is dead, so why am I sorry? Now, when people I know tell me things like this, sometimes I'll give them a hug or talk to them about it a bit, but if it's a stranger, then I can't really do that. And then if I stay silent, then it looks like I'm uncaring. Now, if you were an outside observer seeing this interaction, you might think that I don't feel empathy. But in actuality, I just don't know how to express it in a way that's easily read most of the time. The thing that perpetuates the idea that autistics don't feel empathy is the idea that autistics are unable to put themselves in other people's shoes. Now, this isn't really true. Autistics like myself have a pretty easy time putting themselves in other people's shoes, if those people are also autistic. It's not that we can't relate with people, it's that it's sometimes hard for us to relate with neurotypical values. In fact, the opposite could be said for neurotypicals trying to relate to autistics. It's just what we view as logical. For example, one thing that's really important to me is the placement of the furniture. It needs to be where it's supposed to be, and it needs to stay that way. And if I were to come home and suddenly the configuration of the furniture was different, then I would probably get pretty upset. Now, when I talk to my dad about that, who is autistic, he can very easily relate to me. But if I were to talk to a neurotypical about that, which I have in the past, they're often confused about that. They don't understand why I could possibly have a sentimental attachment to furniture arrangement. But if a neurotypical were to talk to me about a time that they were really feeling special because of the outfit that they chose, and then suddenly someone else walked in wearing the same outfit and it made them feel less special or made them upset, then that wouldn't really, I wouldn't be able to relate to that. To me, that's not logical. You're still you because you're an individual. But other neurotypicals might be able to relate to that. Now, if you're a neurotypical and you're ever in a situation in which you are talking to an autistic and you feel as if they're not reacting in an appropriate way, then just tell them what you need from them. Just be direct. Make sure that they know that you understand that they might not necessarily know why you're feeling that way or know what to say to help you, so tell them what you need. If you need them to give you a hug, if they're comfortable with that, then say that. If you need them to say "I'm sorry," then tell them that. If you need them to distract you, then tell them that. And if you are an autistic and you're ever in situations in which you are not sure how to show empathy to a neurotypical, then ask them, "What can I do for you?" And if you're confused as to why they feel that way, then just keep in mind, it might not make sense to you, but it does make sense to them. And you should be understanding. Also, this advice is within reason. There will be situations in which sometimes a person is simply just being ridiculous, and you really can't be empathetic towards them. And that's okay. If you have any questions or topics you'd like addressed, please leave them in the comments below. Or message me on my Facebook, also linked below. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check out my video about HR 620, the ADA Education and Reform Act. It's still alive, and it is still going through Congress, and it is still horrible. So click the link and check it out. And remember, if you spend 45% of your relationship having philosophical arguments, not fights, you might be autistic.